How's it going, everybody? My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com, and of course, your favorite co-host there over at the Locked On Colts podcast. We are back with yet another film breakdown for my channel here, and today we're going to be talking about defensive end Laiatu Latu. There's kind of this discrepancy right now between the perception of Colts fans when it comes to Latu and what some of the major analytics sites are saying about Latu right now, where Pro Football Focus has him as the number one edge rusher in football at the moment. And even though a lot of that is propelled by his week one interception, they still have him with a 25% pass rush win rate, which is 8th best in the NFL. But I think if you were to ask any Colts fan who watched the game this past Sunday, a lot of the questions were, where is Laiatu Latu? What's he doing? I'm not seeing him make this impact, even though he's lining up against a practice squad right tackle all game long. So I want to dive into a couple clips here, talk about why it was kind of a quiet day from him and why it also might have led to a good day from Pro Football Focus, and also talk about kind of what the Colts' goals were against Cam Ward in this game to maybe add a little bit of context to everything that is going on. So this first clip's not going to show it super well, so I probably should have reordered the clips a little bit, but one way that the Colts were trying to approach Cam Ward in this game was they were trying to get some bull rushes here on the outside to condense the pocket as much as possible and then keep those rush integrity lanes. So keeping, defensive ends keeping the outside leverage, interior guys keeping their gaps closed up. So that way Ward didn't have many scramble opportunities. We still saw him break contain quite a few times in this game, but for the most part, the Colts did do a good job of keeping him confined to the pocket, and that's how they were able to finish the day with 4 sacks. So again, this first clip doesn't show it super well, but we're going to talk about it regardless about how Laiatu Latu operates here. So a little slow off focus thing and what the fans are seeing, because if you're seeing this as a fan on Sundays, this is a long win. So I wouldn't call this a win personally, but Pro Football Focus might have broken this down as a win for Latu as a pass rusher, because he does work his way around that offensive tackle and does get a hand on the quarterback. Overall, a good job from Latu to keep working. I love his energy on a lot of these clips here, because if you look at him here, his first rush is kind of stymied by this offensive tackle, but he does get the offensive tackle off balance, reworks the hands, and is able to get around the outside to force Ward to move in the pocket. So that's a positive right there, but again, not getting enough of the quarterback defense. So again, kind of looking at that discrepancy between what we're seeing on Sundays and what a site like Pro Football Focus would grade here. We're getting onto this next clip here. Again, we're getting more of this wide 9 here from Laiatu Latu on the strong side. The Colts wanted to line him up against this practice squad offensive tackle. He's going with that bull rush here. Again, he's trying to keep that outside contained. I think he is leaning a little too inside here, but again, he's keeping that outside contained to make sure Ward can't escape. Does a really good job of working through that contact, getting off of the blocker late, and then getting a hand on the quarterback as Kwity Paye comes around for the sack. So this is a productive rush from him. Again, you want to see a little bit quicker of getting off of the offensive tackle, but when you're in this kind of situation where you're getting chipped and your team is asking you to do more of this bull rush stuff to keep the quarterback confined to the pocket, this is probably the ideal pass rush here, where you're rushing in tandem with the other guys. Other guys are keeping their rush lanes. Kwity Paye is able to clean up late, and Latu does a great job of creating depth in that pocket, staying on that outside shoulder, displacing, and then making Ward step up into the pocket instead of out of the pocket. That step up forces him right into Kwity Paye, and Kwity Paye is able to get the sack. This honestly should have been a half sack for Laiatu Latu. I'm not sure if they gave it to him, but this is a good rush from him. Again, it's not a superstar type of rush, but it's a good rush with everything the Colts wanted him to do on Sunday. So I think that was a very productive rush from him. We get to this next clip. This is probably his best overall rush of the day, just from a pure rush standpoint. He's going to be, again, in this stand-up stance out here in the wide 9, and he's going to work around the outside against this backup offensive tackle. Again, a little slow off the snap. I think this is where a lot of his slower wins are coming, because we're getting these false steps and delayed rushes, and that's kind of what's hindering him from winning in 2 seconds and making it so he's winning in 2.5 or 3 seconds, which are when the ball's already out. But overall, pretty good rush where he's going to make contact with that offensive tackle, work the hands under, bend the corner, force Ward to step up, and because of his rush to the outside and his ability to bend that corner and tighten around the edge, he gets the quarterback to force an incomplete pass. So, again, if we're nitpicking, we can go back to the first clip here. Watch his first step on a lot of these clips, and you can see why it's kind of why he is not winning super quick. You want to see just that explosion off the snap, but instead it's a lot of read stepping. And again, this might be the way that they've just played the Titans because they were more worried about keeping Cam Ward in the pocket, a little bit slower off the line. Because I just imagine how much quicker he could have got back here if he's fully transitioning and getting to that edge quicker than this offensive tackle, where offensive tackles are already winning that leverage. They're already winning the spot battle against him, and he has to work through the full body of these offensive tackles. So that might be something for him to work on going forward, or it might have just been a one-game thing against the Tennessee Titans. I'm not too sure, but I think he does a good job here, again, of turning that corner, makes that first contact, quickly displaces the hands. Probably his hands are his best attribute, just his ability to rework those hands and create separation by reworking those hands. And again, he's able to get Cam Ward here, and this was easily his best pass rush of the game. But this next rush we get probably his worst pass rush of the game, and this was on a big third down conversion for the Tennessee Titans. We saw this happened a couple times with the Colts defensive line, and where as a coach I would just be fuming, where we had this very clear vision for this game. We want bull rushes up the outside, keeping that outside shoulder of the offensive tackle contained, and then once you get that depth, you can try to break loose on the outside and keep that quarterback in the pocket. Cam Ward is more dangerous running around outside the pocket than he is in the pocket. But if we look at Laiatu Latu here again in that 2-point stance, he's going to come downhill. Good bull rush, doing everything right here. Why are we trying to break free to the inside here? Like, what are we doing here? I remember seeing this on Sunday, and I was frustrated to hell over this rush by Laiatu Latu because there's no reason to be breaking inside here, especially when you have your defensive tackle creating displacement here. I know he gets knocked over here, but he's creating depth and displacement here. The quarterback has nowhere to step up because he's going to feel this guy on the ground right here. So why are we breaking inside here? Breaking inside is everything Cam Ward wants. Latu's just finished over top of the falling defensive tackle across body to the middle of the field. Overall, I thought Latu played fairly well, and you could see in those first couple clips, he played good complementary football, was able to get off his blocks fairly well, but this was just easily his worst play of the game. You can call this a pass rush win because he creates that depth and he forces the quarterback off his spot, but if you're going to lose contain when your whole game plan is to keep this quarterback in the pocket. I did want to finish off this video by saying that Latu had a good game overall. I thought it was a really solid game. I think he's far from the biggest issue on the Colts defensive line. Again, you could see even in a couple of these clips here. I wanted to put more in here, but overall the Colts just didn't have many true pass rush reps for him, and it was kind of a weird game because the Titans offense is just so ugly. It's so ugly to watch. So it's kind of tough to make a whole video on him here, but you could see in those other clips that he was able to create some separation, help the Colts get some sacks, and did some good things. But honestly, even his ability away from the pass rush, I thought he did some good things here. I mean, this was easily his most impressive individual play of the game. Came on this little shovel pass here. Watch the move he makes here, where he gets here, he gets physical with the puller, gets around it, creates that space for him, forces that run to come back inside. But he's not just done there. He doesn't just give up and say, I did my job. He also tries to make a play, gets his hand in there, and tackles the pass catcher for a minimal gain. I think it's for a 0-yard gain here. So, he's not making an impact here for the Colts. It's just you do want to see that extra jump to superstardom. And I think a big part of that, if we go back to the early clips here, is just, again, getting those feet, getting more explosive here, getting those feet going a little bit better on these rushes, and turning the coach, if you guys can't tell from the way I talk on the podcast and stuff. So I'm always hypercritical, but this type of play here, it just makes me so upset because they had this third down locked up. If he just sticks to the outside, it's an easy for him. And I just want to see him build on it going forward. This Los Angeles Rams team, they get the ball out very quick, but their offensive line is not playing super well right now. So Latu can find some ways to be productive in this upcoming game. But I hope this gave a little bit of clarity on kind of where the discrepancy is there between Colts fans, and that's kind of all I have. Again, I want to go back to this last play one more time though, because this was a really great play from Latu, and hopefully we just see more moments like this as the season goes on for him, more moments where he's making an impact and